Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. Guess what? It's raining again. Oh, it's infuriating. So I'm making the most of today. I'm actually just about to make a video in a second, but that'll be for later in the month. And I thought, oh, I'm going to grab this opportunity whilst I've got the light on, the camera out, to sort of have a little not catch up, but also to let you know something that's going on with the channel. Get your words straight, Vivi. It's this pesky rain. We're supposed to be having a dry day tomorrow. What's the date today? It's the 9th, I think, Thursday the 9th of November. You won't see this for a couple of days though. But yeah, so tomorrow, Friday, it's supposed to be dry, so I'm really hoping I can get some garden time. Goodness knows it needs it. I'm really behind in the garden. I've pretty much missed the whole of October for doing any gardening. It's mostly about tidy up, put to bed now. But yeah, so hopefully that tomorrow, if the weather forecast is right. Yeah, this rain, it's been ridiculous. I have been soaked to the skin so many times in the last few weeks because I look at forecast and it says, you know, a couple of hours dry. And I think, right, okay, quick, get out, do the bits and pieces I need to do. It starts raining, and by the time I'm home, yeah, soaked. I was talking with Paul about this yesterday in the pub. I'll explain that in a second. I was in the pub, he wasn't in the pub, he was on the phone. But it kind of felt like we were in the pub together. It was lovely. But yeah, I was saying how, so yesterday I'd done a whole load of running around away from my own bit of town. I'd been on the bus, I'd been on numerous buses, flying around on what was supposed to be a dry morning. It wasn't, I got soaked, and by the time I got the bus back to my area, it's not the bus that stops immediately in my area, it's a little bit out. So I've got a bit of a walk down the hill. Anyway, get off the bus, the rain suddenly got really heavy, really heavy. I was bursting for the loo. I was a bit of a ways from home, and I thought, oh, do you know what, stuff it. I'm going to duck into the pub. There's a pub on the corner. They're actually ones that have, I was talking about this, wasn't I? Which video? I think I was talking about days out and holidays, about community lavatories to check in an area. So it'll be a building like a cafe, restaurant, pub, where they actually allow non-patrons to use their lav facilities. So yeah, this pub is part of the community lavatory scheme. So I thought, I'm just going to duck in there, use the loo. Hopefully the really heavy rain will pass and I'll be on my way. And I suddenly thought, do you know what, I'm going to have a pint. Yay! It's such a special treat. I was joking about it on the phone. I mean, I'd literally sat down with the pint when Paul rang, and I was sort of joking, saying, it feels really naughty. But actually, and then I did work it out, across the whole year so far, we're in the 11th month, it's worked out at about the equivalent of just over half a pint a month. £2.50. It's not exactly profligate, is it? But somehow, yeah, I think the naughtiness, it just makes it feel so good. And there was a fire on in the pub, and I was chatting, and I was sitting looking out the window, lashing rain, people going past their brollies. I felt cosy, having a lovely, you know, catch up with Paul. Oh, it was perfect. It was so perfect. But like I said, part of that perfection is because I hardly ever do it these days. And folk do say to me, you know, and they say, oh, is there anything you miss since you're now without a wage? And honestly, for the most part, there really isn't. Maybe a week by the sea in the sunshine every year. But, you know, even when I was working, I didn't have a holiday every year. Far from it. Rarely had holidays. Yeah, but the one thing I do miss, hand on heart, is I miss going to the pub with my mates. And it's not even about the alcohol, although a pint is nice. It's more just that thing of having a little ring around or a text around saying, hey, do you fancy a pint? I'll meet you at the whichever pub, whichever location I'm in. Yeah, the kind of the Friday night pub thing. Although for me it was never a Friday night. Well, it might have been sometimes a Friday night, but it would be all sorts of different nights just because of shift work. So yes, I miss going to the pub with my mates. But it does mean that now when I do go to a pub, if you remember I had a couple of pub trips when I was in Swanage. I had that pint when I was on that day when I was trying to buy taps. Yeah, really nice. So I got there because I was thinking about the weather, and whilst I was sat there chatting with Paul, I said, I'm in the pub because it's chucking down, and I explained about getting off the bus, and he's like, it's a bright day here. It's like, what? And for the last few years, and it just goes to show, I think we're 11 miles apart as the crow flies. I'm not entirely sure. But our weather can be almost opposites, but utterly different either way, even if it's not totally opposite. So over the last few summers, we've had really dry summers here. And I'll get a message from Paul, it might be July, August. Are you getting this rain? No, haven't had any rain all week. Not expecting any for a week. And he'll be having a lovely, really good shower for a couple of hours over where he is in West London. And we don't get any of it. But now, the number of times he's like, oh, it's such a lovely bright day over here, And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? It's black out there. It's chucking down. Yeah. I was going to say there's no rhyme or reason to it, but it must be the geography, because the bit of hills around here, maybe he's a bit lower lying, obviously out in West London. Anyway, we seem to have a lot of opposites in weather. Because I know a lot of you watch both our channels, and folk will sometimes say, I don't understand why you haven't been in the garden. Paul's been out in the garden all week, because of the rain. Yeah, but Paul's had dry weather all week. I haven't. Anyway, what did I want to catch you up on? Oh, yes, so it's just a really, 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 really quickie today. And as I say, I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, in the next few days. So it's just to introduce a new playlist on the channel. I've spoken about it before a little bit. There's actually a video in there already. It's losing, right, I need to concentrate. So it's going to be, the playlist is going to be called, it's called On the Sofa brackets with Books. So any of the videos that I'm making where I'm chatting about books, and that's what I'm about to film next, which is why I thought, quickly do this today. So yeah, any of the videos I'm talking about books in will go into that playlist. It's partly so that they can be more easily found, and I'm going to try to put within the title the actual books I'm looking at. I'm saying looking at rather than reviewing. It's not going to be, strictly speaking, a book review playlist. Certainly not with me at the helm. There's too much chat to do. Obviously, when I talk about the books, I'm going to talk about my response to them in terms of I really liked it or I didn't like it, and I'll explain why. I'm not just going to say, this is a rubbish book. I'll work out why, in my opinion. So I really hope folk will watch those videos, even if they're not particularly big on reading, because, again, I was saying this in a recent video, I can't remember which one, my response to books, when I'm reading, invariably, it sparks off all sorts of other thoughts and ideas. It will spark off memories and other, stories I want to share. So yes, in a way the book is just the starting point, and I will talk about the book, but almost certainly there'll be other stuff mixed in there, which I hope will be of interest to everyone, but even the non-book readers. So please do have a look. If you see one that's that's got that on the sofa with books, please don't just think, oh, I'm not going to watch that, I'm not interested in books, because I hope it will be of interest to you in all sorts of ways. And the other thing I'm going to do, it's going to be one of my winter projects, it might take more than just the winter, is, and this is kind of what sparked me starting this playlist. Oh, I've got a gurgly throat today, sorry. I've had quite a few messages or comments over time saying, oh, what was that book you were talking about that was about, X, Y, and Z? Which video was that? And of course, I ain't got a Scooby, because the book titles weren't in the videos, and they were part of a video when I was talking about all sorts of other stuff too. So what I'm planning to do is go back and find those videos. This is why it might take a bit of time. And just, if it's one of my chatty videos on the sofa, it's always chatty, isn't it? They might be 45, 50 minutes long, those videos, but maybe only 10 minutes is in there on a couple of books. So I'm going to go back and find those, pull out the little bit about the books. And this is why it takes time, because I'll then have to download my own video from YouTube into my computer to re-edit. But yeah, just have those, the book part as a standalone video. I'll do a new introduction and a new outro to it so it makes sense, so it's not just burble out of nowhere. But then they can be found, and folk who want to watch them again can do. Folk who wanted to show it to a friend can then say, it's here, and it's just in a little short video this time. So that's the plan in terms of the books I've already talked about. Just try and lift them out somehow and make them as little standalone videos. And they'll be shorter because of that, so for folk who have less time to sit and watch. And now, from now on, if I'm going to talk about books, I'll do them sort of slightly separate to other stuff. But like I said, it's never going to just be about the books. The minute I start chatting and the minute I've got a book in my hand, I'm off in all sorts of directions with other stories, memories, thoughts, ideas, what have you. So yeah, we'll give it a go and see how that goes. And I think when I asked about this, I'm losing track of time. I keep thinking in terms of before Swanage or after Swanage, which seems a million years ago already. End of September, but it seems so long ago. Yeah, when I mentioned this previously, I had a completely mixed response in terms of sort of like on those who commented on specifically this subject. About half the folk who responded said, oh, I'd love separate book videos. And half the people said, oh, I like it when it's part of a mixed bag of chat. So yeah, they're going to be on their own for now, but there will be some mixed chat in there in any case. Right, so like I said, just a quickie. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I was going to try and keep this to 10 minutes. I think it's 14. So I'm going to wrap things up there with you today. And like I said, hopefully garden tomorrow, and cooking at home, all sorts going on. They'll happen when they happen. Right, I've got my nice snuggly Joanne hoodie on today, so I feel nice and cosy despite the miseryness of the weather. Grrr, miserable weather, you're not going to make me miserable. All right, lovelies, see you all before too long. Look after yourselves. Cheerio.